Talk about being left high and dry for the midterms. Now the Congressional Budget Office is revealing they cannot predict the long-term budgetary effects of Obamacare.
That's right. It's an about-face from a major selling point. Remember, the act, the CBO, always incorporated in this kind of stuff, forecasting Obamacare would actually reduce the ballooning budget by $120 billion over a 10-year period. You guys remember that. Well, this new report giving Republican lawmakers renewed midterm ammunition as if they needed any more against Obamacare supporters. Ellison Barber is the writer with the Washington Free Beacon, and she's our guest today. It's at this point, it just doesn't, it feels like we're used to almost every other week some bad news coming out on this. But when the CBO says they have no idea, we're in trouble.
Right. Well, it's been a little bit of stagnant in terms of the news. And I think if you talk to Democrats, probably a lot of them thought maybe it's kind of fallen out of the front and it's not going to be back. But this week there has been a lot. There's been some news on Medicaid as well as enrollments in terms of just general processing things. But this is significant because you have the CBO saying we actually can't tell from the majority of the provisions. We can't tell you what we think the long-term overall budget impacts of the law are going to be.
The Congressional Budget Office has to do with the numbers and crunching them and the budget. And if they cannot tell us what the overall impact is, who the heck can?
Right. Basically, it kind of seems like we're left high and dry here. But the reason why they're saying that they're unable to tell based on these provisions is that there have been a lot of delays. And you think about like the employer mandate, which has been delayed twice now. That is something that was supposed to be a big tax revenue generator because they were going to take the money from businesses for the penalties. So already that delay, CBO has said that the delays that they have now, that's already going to prevent the government from collecting somewhere around $2 billion in 2016. So when you think of all the delays that have happened, it makes sense why now they're saying because we kind of don't have this maybe a certain level of certainty that we're not able to really predict what our overall impact is going to be long term right now. And supporters would say, though, because those delays are temporary, that eventually it's not going to actually really affect this long-term budget.
But does anyone believe, Charles, does anyone believe that this chart's going to actually end up being accurate? Remember, this is what the administration first put out, that it was going to save us $2 trillion. Obamacare was. And now, do we really believe that it will ever come to that?
No one believes that. To be quite frank with you, very few, I think, people believed it even early on. And that's why I think a lot of politicians changed the narrative from forget about the economic impact. This is something that we morally owe the country. In other words, we know the numbers are a little funny to begin with. It's hard if someone ever crunches them or attempts to. Maybe we just sell it as a societal thing that we just owe to people.
Right. But right now, I think the problem in the election, that's sort of the political message that they have run on. And I think Democrats have used that to some degree successfully. But now with this news coming out, I think they run into an issue of where you think back how a lot of their constituents felt, particularly those vulnerable red state Democrats. They felt that their representatives had misled them when they passed this initially in terms of if you like your doctor, you can keep it. The fact now that they don't know the long-term overall budget impact, I think that emboldens that narrative that maybe they were misled.
Now they can't say anything about it. They don't know the numbers. All right, Ellison, thank you.
You bet.